Skull. This is the bony structure that protects the brain, made up of several fused plates that come together at seam-like joints called sutures. In infants, these plates aren't fully joined, leaving soft spots that allow the skull to flex slightly during birth and expand as the brain grows rapidly in the first years of life. The skull also houses the eye sockets, nasal cavity, and the openings for hearing, making it one of the most structurally complex bones in the body despite looking like a single solid piece. Its protective role is critical, since even a small amount of pressure on the brain can cause serious injury. Mandible. This is the lower jawbone, and it's the only bone in the skull that can move freely, hinging at a joint just in front of each ear. It holds the lower teeth in place and works together with the muscles of the jaw to allow chewing, speaking, and swallowing. The mandible is also the strongest and largest bone in the face, built to withstand the repeated force of biting down thousands of times a day. Because of its exposed position, it's one of the more commonly fractured facial bones in accidents or impacts. Cervical vertebrae. These are the 7 small bones that make up the neck, forming the uppermost section of the spine and supporting the weight of the head. The first 2, given the names atlas and axis, have a unique shape that allows the head to nod and rotate side to side, movements the rest of the spine can't perform. Despite being the smallest vertebrae in the spine, they carry significant responsibility, since they also protect the spinal cord as it exits the base of the skull. Injuries to this region are taken especially seriously in medicine because of how close they sit to the nervous system's main pathway. Thoracic vertebrae. These 12 bones form the middle section of the spine, sitting behind the chest and connecting directly to the ribs on either side. Unlike the neck vertebrae, they're built more for stability than flexibility, which is part of why the upper back doesn't twist and bend as freely as the neck or lower back. Each thoracic vertebra has small joint surfaces specifically shaped to anchor a pair of ribs, creating a protective cage around the heart and lungs. This section of the spine also has a natural outward curve, which helps balance the inward curves found in the neck and lower back. Lumbar vertebrae. These are the 5 largest vertebrae in the spine, located in the lower back where they bear the greatest amount of body weight. Their size and thickness reflect the heavy mechanical load they carry, especially during activities like lifting, bending, or simply standing upright for long periods. The lumbar spine has a natural inward curve that helps absorb shock and distribute weight evenly through the body, but this same area is also one of the most common sites of chronic pain and injury. Because of how much stress passes through this region daily, the discs between these vertebrae are particularly prone to wear over time. Sacrum. This is a triangular bone formed by 5 vertebrae that fuse together during childhood and adolescence, sitting at the base of the spine between the hip bones. It acts as a bridge, transferring the weight of the upper body down into the pelvis and legs, while also forming the back wall of the pelvic cavity. The sacrum's shape differs slightly between men and women, since a wider, shallower curve in women accommodates the demands of childbirth. Despite being made of several bones early in life, by adulthood it functions as a single solid structure. Coccyx. Commonly known as the tailbone, this small bone sits at the very bottom of the spine and is made up of 3 to 5 tiny fused segments. It's considered a vestigial structure, a remnant of the tail that many of our evolutionary ancestors had, though it still serves a functional purpose by anchoring several muscles and ligaments involved in posture and pelvic support. Despite its small size, the coccyx can be a source of significant pain if bruised or fractured, particularly from a hard fall onto a seated position. Its position at the very base of the spine makes it especially vulnerable during activities like cycling or horseback riding. Clavicle. Known as the collarbone, this slender bone connects the arm to the main skeleton by linking the shoulder blade to the breastbone. It sits just beneath the skin, which is why it's one of the few bones in the body that can be easily felt and even seen in many people. The clavicle plays a key role in shoulder mobility, acting almost like a strut that holds the shoulder joint away from the chest so the arm has room to move freely. It's also one of the most frequently broken bones, especially in falls or contact sports, since it absorbs much of the force transmitted through an outstretched arm. Scapula. Commonly called the shoulder blade, This flat, triangular bone sits on the back of the rib cage and serves as the anchor point for many of the muscles that move the arm and shoulder. Unlike most bones, it isn't rigidly fixed in place, instead gliding and rotating over the ribs to allow the arm to reach overhead or behind the back. This mobility is part of why the shoulder has such a wide range of motion compared to other joints in the body, though that same flexibility also makes it more prone to instability. The scapula's unusual shape, with ridges and a small hook-like projection, provides multiple attachment points for the complex web of muscles surrounding the shoulder. Sternum. Known as the breastbone, this flat bone sits at the center of the chest and connects to the ribs through cartilage, forming the front of the protective rib cage. It's made up of 3 sections that fuse together over time, and its central location makes it a key landmark in medicine, often used as a reference point during chest compressions in CPR. The sternum also serves as an attachment site for several chest muscles and, in adults, remains a common location for bone marrow biopsies due to its accessibility. Despite being relatively thin, it plays a major structural role in shielding the heart and major blood vessels behind it. Ribs. These are the 12 pairs of curved bones that form a protective cage around the chest, shielding the heart, lungs, and other vital organs from impact. The upper 7 pairs connect directly to the sternum through cartilage, while the next 3 pairs connect indirectly, and the final 2 pairs, known as floating ribs, attach only to the spine. This graduated structure allows the rib cage to expand and contract with each breath, while still maintaining enough rigidity to protect the organs inside. Because ribs are somewhat flexible, they can bend under moderate pressure, which actually helps prevent more serious internal injury during minor impacts. Humerus. This is the long bone of the upper arm, running from the shoulder joint down to the elbow, and it's the largest bone in the arm. Its rounded top fits into the shoulder blade to form a ball and socket joint, one of the most mobile joints in the body, allowing the arm to move in nearly every direction. At the elbow end, the humerus has a more complex shape that interlocks precisely with the bones of the forearm, forming a hinge joint that allows bending and straightening, but not rotation at that specific joint. A particularly sensitive nerve runs close to the surface near the elbow, which is why an accidental knock there produces that familiar tingling sensation. Radius. This is one of the 2 bones in the forearm, running along the thumb side from the elbow to the wrist. It plays a central role in one of the arm's more unique movements, rotating around the other forearm bone to allow the palm to turn face up or face down, a motion called pronation and supination. This rotation is essential for everyday tasks like turning a doorknob or using a screwdriver, and it's a movement unique to primates with highly dexterous hands. Because of its slender shape and the amount of stress it absorbs during falls, the radius is one of the most commonly fractured bones, particularly near the wrist. Ulna. This is the 2nd forearm bone, running along the pinky side and forming the main hinge of the elbow joint. Unlike the radius, the ulna stays relatively fixed during forearm rotation, acting as a stable axis while the radius pivots around it. Its upper end features a distinctive hook-shaped projection that locks into a groove on the humerus, which is what prevents the elbow from bending backward. This same projection is what people commonly refer to as the funny bone area, though the odd sensation actually comes from a nerve passing closely alongside the bone rather than the bone itself. Carpals. These are the 8 small bones that make up the wrist, arranged in 2 rows that allow for the wrist's remarkable range of motion. Despite their small size, they work together almost like a flexible bridge, distributing force between the forearm and hand while allowing the wrist to bend, extend, and rotate slightly. One of these bones, the scaphoid, is particularly known for its slow healing process after fracture, since its blood supply enters from only one end, making certain breaks difficult to detect early on. The intricate arrangement of these bones is part of why wrist injuries can be so complex to diagnose and treat. Metacarpals. These are the 5 long bones that form the middle of the hand, connecting the wrist to the fingers and thumb. Each one corresponds to a specific digit, and their length and slight curvature help form the natural arch of the palm, which is essential for gripping objects securely. The metacarpal connected to the thumb sits at a different angle than the others, allowing the unique thumb rotation that makes precise grasping possible, a feature that sets human hands apart from many other species. These bones are frequently involved in fractures caused by punching a hard object, sometimes referred to informally as a boxer's fracture. Phalanges. These are the small bones that make up the fingers and toes, with each finger containing 3 phalanges and each thumb containing 2, and the same pattern repeating in the toes. Their small size and multiple joints allow for the fine motor control needed for tasks like writing, buttoning a shirt, or picking up small objects. In the feet, the phalanges play a slightly different role, contributing more to balance and push-off during walking than to fine manipulation. Despite being some of the smallest bones in the body, injuries to the phalanges are extremely common given how frequently the hands and feet come into contact with the world. Pelvis. This is a large, bowl-shaped structure formed by the fusion of several bones, connecting the spine to the legs and supporting the weight of the entire upper body. It also protects several vital organs, including parts of the digestive and reproductive systems, while serving as the attachment point for many of the body's largest and most powerful muscles. The pelvis differs noticeably between men and women, with a wider, more open shape in women that accommodates childbirth. Because of its central role in weight-bearing and movement, pelvic fractures are considered particularly serious injuries, often requiring extensive treatment and recovery time. Femur. This is the thigh bone, and it holds the title of the longest, heaviest, and strongest bone in the human body. Its rounded top fits into a deep socket in the pelvis to form the hip joint, while its lower end connects to the knee, making the femur central to nearly every movement involving the legs. Despite its strength, capable of withstanding forces many times a person's body weight, the femur can still fracture under extreme trauma, such as a car accident or a serious fall, and such breaks are considered medical emergencies due to the risk of significant blood loss. Its remarkable strength is part of why walking, running, and jumping place such enormous demands on this single bone. Patella, commonly known as the kneecap, this small, rounded bone sits at the front of the knee joint, embedded within the tendon that connects the thigh muscles to the shin bone. Its main function is to protect the knee joint while also improving the mechanical efficiency of the leg muscles, essentially acting as a pulley that increases the force generated when straightening the leg. The patella is unique in that it's classified as a sesamoid bone, meaning it develops within a tendon rather than connecting directly to other bones through a joint. Because of its exposed position at the front of the knee, it's particularly vulnerable to direct impact injuries, such as falling directly onto a hard surface. Tibia. This is the shin bone, and it's the larger, weight-bearing bone of the lower leg, running from the knee down to the ankle. It carries the majority of the body's weight when standing or walking, which is why it's built thicker and stronger than its neighboring bone. The fibula. The tibia's front edge sits just beneath the skin with very little muscle padding, which is exactly why a knock to the shin is so noticeably painful compared to impacts elsewhere on the leg. Because of the significant stress it endures during running and jumping, the tibia is also one of the more common sites for stress fractures in athletes. Fibula. This is the thinner, outer bone of the lower leg, running alongside the tibia from just below the knee down to the ankle. Unlike the tibia, it bears very little of the body's weight, instead serving mainly as an attachment site for muscles and providing stability to the ankle joint. Its lower end forms the bony bump felt on the outside of the ankle, which helps keep the ankle joint aligned during movement and prevents it from rolling too far outward. Despite its lighter load-bearing role, the fibula is still commonly fractured during ankle sprains, particularly when the foot twists forcefully to one side. Tarsals. These are the 7 bones that make up the back portion of the foot, including the heel bone, which is the largest and absorbs the initial impact each time the foot strikes the ground. Together, these bones form the ankle and the rear structure of the foot, working closely with the lower leg bones to allow walking, running, and changing direction. The arrangement of the tarsal bones also helps create the natural arches of the foot, which act as shock absorbers and distribute body weight evenly with each step. Because of the significant forces they endure daily, injuries to these bones, particularly the heel, can significantly affect a person's ability to walk comfortably. Metatarsals. These are the 5 long bones that form the middle of the foot, connecting the ankle bones to the toes and playing a major role in balance and propulsion while walking or running. The 5th metatarsal, located on the outer edge of the foot, is particularly known for a specific type of fracture that occurs when the ankle rolls inward, a common injury in sports involving sudden changes in direction. Together, these bones help form the foot's arch structure, distributing weight evenly and providing the spring-like action needed to push off the ground with each step. Because they bear repeated impact during activities like running, metatarsals are also a frequent site of stress fractures in athletes and dancers. Hyoid bone. This is a small horseshoe-shaped bone located in the neck, and it holds the unusual distinction of being the only bone in the human body that doesn't directly connect to any other bone. Instead, it's suspended in place by a network of muscles and ligaments, anchoring the base of the tongue and playing an essential role in swallowing and speech. Its floating position allows it to move up and down during swallowing, which can actually be felt by placing a hand gently on the front of the neck. Because of its unique location and structure, the hyoid bone is sometimes examined in forensic investigations, since certain types of injury to it can provide important clues in cases involving the neck.